Well, hey YouTube, it's MIgardener, and I'm outside today. You know, I always kind of wonder why I come back out here when I think everything's done, and maybe it's just the fact that I'm really addicted to gardening. I love just being out here in the garden, no matter what's growing, really, and you know, it's really fun to just come out and make work sometimes. For me, it's not really work, it's actually a lot of fun. But behind me is the garlic that's actually sprouting. It wasn't supposed to sprout, and I know in my garlic video I said it wasn't supposed to sprout, and it's not. It hasn't gotten cold enough to stop it from growing. It keeps warming up to like mid-50s, and I thought it would stop, but it hasn't. So I guess I'll just see what happens. But I actually came out here to make a cool video about things that I've kind of done around the garden, just some finalizing of work that needed to be done, and I also had something really cool to talk to you guys about, which was a second channel that I made. And I know a lot of you guys are overwhelmed with everything going on right now between the economy and work and whatnot, and you just sometimes need a place where you can go to relax. And I've made a second channel just for that specific reason. It's nothing to learn, it's nothing to teach, it's just simply to, when you get time to sit back and relax and you want to watch some gardening videos, I have that set up. And so I'm going to put a link in the description box below, and a link right about there for my new channel. And if you guys would like to go check it out, go ahead. I'm not telling you guys to. It's totally if you guys want to feel like it. It's dedicated solely to growing an indoor garden that is based upon fruit trees and other small dwarf exotic plants. Mostly it's fruit trees, but I will be doing some micro tomatoes and micro peppers and different stuff like that. But the majority of the channel is dedicated solely to growing stuff that would never grow here in Michigan in a billion years, and show that it's number one possible, and number two, it's just kind of a show and tell channel that I'll continuously be updating my collection of dwarf plants, hopefully be getting some harvests. It's just a whole lot of fun. So I made that channel specifically for that. I will have some how-to videos on there, such as, how to prune your plants, different soil mixtures to use, stuff like that, but it's not really going to be a teaching channel all that much. So I encourage you guys to go check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I do have a link on my homepage for it. So that is the new news. I'm just really thrilled the way it's going so far. I wanted MIgardener as the name, but MIgardener was taken because YouTube has kind of a funny way of not recycling old usernames. So if you ever want MIgardener and it somehow gets closed, there's no chance of ever getting it. It's kind of a pain, but I guess it's their way of doing things, so I'm not going to complain about it. I found a really cool name, and it's the Micro Garden, and it's just kind of a fun, unique name, and I hope you guys will enjoy it. So I'm going to show you guys different things I've been doing around the garden, but I thought I'd bring that to you guys today just so you guys could check it out. So I'll see you guys over there. So here's my garlic sprouting. Again, it's not supposed to be sprouting, but all of them have begun sprouting. Oh gosh, well, I don't know what that's going to lead to, but it might lead to a good harvest, who knows. Yeah, Zoe loves it out here. She's just enjoying the cool weather here. We had a lot of frosts and some freezes, but nothing that has actually stopped plants from growing. I just recently did a video that I decided not to put up because it didn't turn out so hot, but whatever. I recently dug out all of the soil in my two highest raised beds here. I'm going to explain the reason for all of that in a second. But I recently dug out all of the soil, completely dug out every ounce of soil, and I actually added those to beds that needed it, over there, and beds that just needed a little refilling. But what I did was I actually took 100% fresh new compost, and I put all of that in these beds. So next year, when I'm planting carrots and root crops, they're going to have no problem pushing down, and it's also going to be really fertile because I have never amended this bed yet, so it needed it really badly. Now if you come over here and you look at this bed is kind of a test that I've been doing with covering it with leaves to stop the soil from compacting over the winter. If you look over here, I don't have that many leaves covering the soil, but if you check, it's significantly looser, and it's also going to help insulate the soil a little bit. So in the springtime, I'm going to be able to plant just a few days earlier when I do my spinach and stuff, because this is the bed that I usually do the spinach. And I also re-amended this bed. I completely dug out all the soil and re-amended it. So that's kind of the stuff that's been going on bed-wise. But if you come over here, you'll see this mammoth pile of leaves. And this pile is probably, I'd say, 5 feet, maybe 6 feet by 3 feet tall. And I mean, it goes way back there too. This is just a huge pile. And this is actually my test pile for pure leaf compost. I am doing nothing to it. I'm just letting it sit as a cool compost over winter. And whatever happens, happens. It might take a couple years to break down. I might flip it a couple times, but I'm literally just throwing leaves on to see what happens. And this is solely as a test for me. I know a lot of people say like, oh, you got too much carbon, you need some nitrogen. Well, I know for a fact that when leaves fall on the ground, they break down. They're not green, you know. So I'm just doing it to. I'm not doing it to prove people wrong. I'm only doing it to see what happens. So it's not going to hurt anything. And then this is where I just pulled all of my compost from. This was my first compost pile, and as you guys can see, there's some perlite in here. I took a couple pots that had a lot of perlite in it, and I re-amended that soil with fresh compost just so I could kind of recycle some of the soil, because I like to do that. It's just a practice that I do, so I use less soil, because soil is really expensive if you have to buy a bag of soil. So I prefer to not have to do that if I don't have to. And then this is my food scraps compost pile. This is my normal compost pile that is going to break down, and by next spring I'll have a whole pile of fresh compost to use. So this is the actual compost that I know will work. This is just a test to see what happens to it when you leave it over winter. Maybe flip it a couple times and maybe leave it a whole another year, who knows. But I just want to see how this compost turns out compared to this compost, and then maybe do some tests on plants as well. So that's all I got for you guys today. Oh, actually, no, it's not. This right here is really exciting. This spot that I had all my tomatoes in, next year, I'm going to till it all up. It's absolutely going to be all tilled from this line right here to all along here. All of this is going to be one large potato patch. I'm going to till it up, and then I'm actually going to just plant a whole ton of potatoes, because this soil right here, I noticed, is extremely loose, extremely loamy, and it's great for potatoes. And while it doesn't get enough sunlight to do tomatoes, I thought it might be enough sunlight to do some potatoes, because they don't require as much sunlight, and you know, they also they don't fruit really heavily like tomatoes do. So since they're a tuber, I thought maybe I could possibly get away with it. It gets about 7 to 8 hours of sunlight, which is the bare minimum for tomatoes. So I figured I could at least put some potatoes in here and see how they do. So, alright, that is all I have. So I thank you guys for watching. And this is MIgardener signing off. Hopefully you guys will go check out my other channel, like I said. And until next time, I hope you guys will grow big or go home. I'll see you guys next week. See ya. Bye. Get the stick. Ready? Here, get the stick, so. Get the stick.